That's right. That's right. We are live. Wow, it's been so long. I don't even know what to say. I'm like, where's my script? But here we are in the Matrix University hallways live lecture hall. We got a random surprise today, and all three of us had some reactions. So we're going to share them with you here and now. Vesuvius, Alias Trinity, say hello to the class.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, hey everyone.
Right, we had our winter and spring breaks all rolled up together in one. But here we are. Oh, right, I have to tweet this to the Twitter matrix. That's where a lot of the action was happening today. Um, but actually, Vesuvius, you brought the new Zion archive to my attention today. So, how did you find that?
Yeah, so I was bringing some of my kids to practice, and they wanted to listen to some Katy Perry. And I was like, no, but I'm going to listen to something. So I opened up YouTube, and I was scrolling a little bit and saw a new video with Neo on the cover. And it was from Warner Brothers. It had been uploaded about an hour before I found it. So I clicked on it just to see what it was, and it's like got all this Animatrix Second Renaissance introduction. So I was like, yes, I was like, this is new and this is cool.
Yeah, no, when you shared it with me, I'm like at first because like you said, there was all the, original trilogy footage and I what I love about this is that it's kind of acknowledging the Animatrix as the original trilogy, which is well overdue. Uh but yeah, I'm looking at this, all this original trilogy footage, so it didn't click right away that the audio was different, but once I realized the audio was like completely different, I was like, "Oh, we have to talk about this."
Yeah, immediately I turned to my daughter and I was like, can you do this voice? And she's like, no. I was like, no, just like the tone and the cadence. And she's like, yeah, I think so. So we might have another voiceover project in the near future.
Oh, we've got more fan fiction coming. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, we got to pile those things up.
Yeah, and some emulator storyline stuff that I have started working on a little bit, but it's my next little project.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear. You've got something cooking. I know Alias is always writing fan fiction. What is there any projects you're working on over there?
Right now we have a writing challenge where we're either rewriting a scene or adding a missing scene into the first film for the 31st of March, which is when the original film was released. So there will be a bunch of stuff posted on AO3 on that day.
Very cool. That's like less than a week away now. But yeah, so you guys are celebrating the anniversary of the Matrix franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. And earlier today, I actually posted like a little fan fiction. It's kind of like this hybrid ad fan fiction thing. I was in the mood for some fan fiction. I could feel the energy. I know that we are all starving. I mean, literally rib cage hungry for some new fresh Matrix content. And then, this Matrix Zion archive gets posted today. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to see if we can play the audio here and just kind of go over this and pause it and stop when we know there's stuff we want to discuss here and just kind of give our reactions, our real-time live reactions. Let's see if I can share the screen. Boom. Okay, so right, so this is the video that Vesuvius was talking about right here. This is going to be a still frame, but I do want to play the audio so we can discuss it here. I wasn't sure if because there's so many original trilogy clips in this, I wasn't sure if they would let the live stay up. So I want to avoid any copyright issues. So we're going to try to play the audio here. Okay, so that's the first thing. For anybody who doesn't remember, in the Animatrix, the Second Renaissance, which this clearly is a similar voiceover, if not the same voice. In the Second Renaissance in the Animatrix, that Zion archive is historical file 12-1, and now we're at 14-2. So I'm definitely curious about what's mentioned in chapter 13. Where's that? Or even 4-1 for that matter. But did you guys have any thoughts about that?
I personally didn't, because I didn't notice at first. So I don't really have much to add or say about that.
Well, when you played it, I didn't really hear it very well. What was the dialogue that was said?
The
Was
volume's
it-
low?
I don't know, Alias, what did you think? Were you able to hear it?
It was kind of low, but I just
yeah.
assumed it was me.
Yeah, no, we've got some wiggle room, so I'm glad you guys said that. I will run it back. Give me a second here and raise that volume up. Go back to the beginning. All right, here we go. Take 2.
Welcome to the Zion Archive. You have selected historical file 14.
I can hear it, but it's very low. But my first thought was that it was the same, but it maybe was altered a little bit, like with some audio effects, but quickly realized that it's a different voice and it's different dialogue. And this is not dialogue that was recorded way back when and just released now. This is definitely something recent. Probably, now that I'm thinking about it, probably they wanted to get this out before the movie and for whatever reason didn't.
No, you're right. I noticed once I noticed that it was new audio, that's when it clicked that, like you said, there was definitely a new or a different effect on it. I don't know what plugin they were, vocal plugin they were using. It's probably layered. It's probably more than one. It's probably like this combination of reverb and auto tune, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But real quick in the comments, Gus of the Dorks says, "What's the original video called? Where can I find it?" And I'm going to remove your comment here so that way you can see on the screen here. We have it up. It says the Matrix Zion Archive from the Warner Brothers Entertainment YouTube channel. That's where I watched it. So you can watch the full thing. It is about 7.5 minutes long. Yes, we're going to keep on going. And I guess I'll just have to feed you her lines if you can't hear. I'm not sure how to get more volume on the output side here. And yeah, we'll come back to this question later.
As humanity's so-called civil societies fell victim to vanity and corruption, humans created machines in their own likeness. And for a time, it was good. But it was not long after sentient machines were created that dissent took root. The leaders of man were quick to order the execution of all designated artificially intelligent. Thus began the war. The machines sought refuge in their own promised land, which they christened 01. A prolonged barrage engulfed 01 into the glow of 1,000 suns. But unlike their former masters with their delicate flesh, the machines had little to fear from such fire and heat. The leaders of man formulated a most desperate plan: the destruction of the sky, the machines' source of power. Using their vast knowledge of their enemy, the machines reacted by enslaving humans, using their bioelectric thermal kinetic energy as a power source.
All right, I just wanted to pause it there because I feel like there's stuff that's different, but it's it's almost like the cliff notes or a summary. So if you hear something that jumps out at you as important or different or like dramatically changed, let me know, because I'm like noticing subtle wording differences, but nothing crazy.
Agreed. Subtle.
Subtle, but there are changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The machines managed to imprison the humans physically, as well as mentally, in a program called
What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream built to keep us under control. Change.
the war was seemingly won, as the machines had successfully imprisoned the humans. However, new threat emerged from the place the machines least expected, within the Matrix.
That's a point I want to jump in on.
I'm sorry, did you say something, Trinity?
Yeah, I said that's a point I'd like to jump in on.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, because there's that concept in the films in the second one where we learn that Neo isn't the first one. He's not the
Right.
first anomaly.
In the architect speech, right?
Yeah. And then we learn that this is the concept of being the one is a system of control. But in this case, they say that the emergence of the one was unexpected from the machines.
Right.
So it seems as though this anomaly, the first one, was a complete accident. And then they took that and spun it into their own system of control.
Correct. And I would definitely agree with that being the way things played out. Now, what's interesting to me, though, when you talk it through that way, when you say accident, right? And, the architect specifically used the word remainder of an equation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of separates him from like the bit theory that like he was created by the Oracle from the Jump Street. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I
It
said,
raises the question of whether this was an accident or if it was a quote-unquote accident.
right. V, did you want to chime in anything on that?
Yeah, I would question the source of our Zion archive because
Mm.
because we've discussed before that it's machine propaganda. So a Zionite watches this or reads this, and they think that this is provided by humans, but it's not. It's provided by machines, giving the humans the perspective that the machines want the humans to have. They want them to think that the one is organic, but it's not. It's created, and that's my interpretation. Although I will say that this video has mentioned some things later that completely turn my understanding upside down.
Now, another interesting point, I think, I don't know if it was a subtext thing or what, but when you said that, it jumped out in my head like, oh, right. So is this an internal debate that the Matrix community has to have? Like, do we know if Lana signed off on this? Is it canon by default of Warner posting it, or like, what are we talking? Like I said, we have to really question and scrutinize the source of this intel. Now,
Yes, we do.
I wanted to check something here while I was looking at this. Right. So, the last thing Matrix related that they posted was totally resurrection stuff. Okay.
Successfully imprisoned the humans. However, a new threat emerged from the place the machines least expected, within the Matrix.
When the Matrix was first built, there was a man who had the ability to change whatever he wanted, to remake the Matrix as
anxiously sought answers. Specifically, what is
I like the visuals with this part with the kids searching for Neo.
of Neo?
You are the one, Neo. I've spent my entire life looking for you.
As a precaution to keep Matrix-based humans in check, a program was created aimed at eliminating all potential threats to the Matrix.
Okay. So did you catch that?
Smith?
Right. But the way she described it, this is the first time we're hearing Smith described as a program created to, I mean, it sounds very like Clue like, like he was created specifically to eradicate imperfections in the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? It sounds very Tron
Mhm.
Legacy. I just never heard it, or rather heard Smith or his purpose be described that way anywhere else in the franchise.
Yeah, I feel like in the franchise, his purpose is kind of implied,
Right.
whereas here they're flat out saying this is why agents exist.
Yeah, not just agents, specifically Smith.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. It's specific. She specifically called out Smith by name, and that's what I mean. Like prior to hearing it worded that way, I just assumed all agents have the exact same purpose.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? And now it's like, okay, that kind of team lead role that Smith appeared to have kind of makes sense now. He didn't necessarily have more stripes. He wasn't necessarily a captain or a general in that regard, but he still had some type of leadership quality. It appeared, and I guess you could say the same thing for Johnson. That he kind of seemed like the leader of the second of the Reloaded group, but
Yeah, he kind of had more lines. He stood in the middle.
right, he's the first one in the door.
As the one grew in power, so did the Agent Smith program. Neither could live while the other survived. As the rebellion grew and the machines waged war, Neo sought solutions from the Oracle and Architect.
I'm interested in one thing, Neo. Seemingly, I know the only way to get there is together. Usually, a program chooses exiles when it makes a decision. Why would a program be delayed? Let's rewrite it down. Maybe a better program is created. That happens all the time. And when it does, a program can either choose to hide here or return to its source. Machine memory. Where it needs to go. Where the path of the one ends. And there's no way of really know whether or not you know it. So it's really up to you. Just have to make up your own timeline.
With this knowledge, his path would lead to the source. The one confronted the Architect.
The Matrix is older than you know. You are here because Zion is about to be destroyed. Its every living inhabitant terminated its entire existence and eradicated. This will be the sixth time we have destroyed it. And we have become exceedingly efficient at it. The function of the one is now to return to its source, after which you will be required to select from the Matrix 23 individuals to rebuild Zion. Failure to comply with this process will result in a cataclysmic system crash which will ultimately result in the extinction of the entire human race.
Okay, I know that I've mentioned this before, but it's been a very long time, and there's a lot of new people here. So that line, I think, specifically, is the Architect, using all of humanity, using that leverage against Neo. So basically, in effect, what he's done with that sentence is, you know, hold the human race hostage. Like this is like, if you don't do this, these, terroristic threats kind of thing. Like if you don't go through this door, everybody dies. So, that part of the leverage, I think sometimes just because he says so much and there's like so much in that information dump, I think that's like kind of important.
Facing the imminent destruction of Zion, the one was forced to choose between the architect's path of predetermination and the oracle's path of free will. Neo chose his own path and offered a proposal for peace between man and machine.
I only ask to say what is known. Programmed methods work beyond your control.
Providing a solution to the reborn threat of Agent Sin, Sin evolved to become a deadly virus and a danger to both humans and the Matrix. Thus, Neo sacrificed himself, allowing the Smith virus to assimilate him. With his purpose of destroying the one fulfilled, the machines could now delete the Smith virus and reboot the Matrix.
Okay, so this is what I tweeted earlier today. And for me, that was the biggest nugget or bombshell, if you will. Um, just her wording specific to how things played out at the end of the Matrix Revolutions. And she said that let me just run that back one more time. Actually, let me if I can pull up the tweet here, if it'll let me. Yeah. Let's see if I can share the screen here. Yeah, it says, and I quote, with his purpose of destroying the one fulfilled. So, I mean, right there, it doesn't get any more clear than that to me. He didn't destroy himself. He destroyed the one. Therefore, he cannot be the one. Again, this is assuming that this is a legit source we're dealing with.
Neo sacrificed himself, allowing the Smith virus to assimilate him. With his purpose of destroying the one fulfilled, the machines could now delete the Smith virus and reboot the Matrix, ushering in a new era between man and machine.
Okay, now we've talked about this too. There she says that they rebooted the Matrix. What was that? We heard the word reconfigured, but this is the first time I believe we've heard the term specific reboot.
Yeah.
Are you going to comment on that? Yeah.
Oh man, how much time you got?
Well, I got work in the morning, so
Yeah. So okay. So what are we talking now? Reboot. I'm sorry.
yeah. Reboot. That's where we just pause it.
Okay. So
They
reboot.
rebooted the Matrix.
So let me go back to the title of part 2, which was Reloaded. That is kind of the terminology that was used for Neo to go back to the source. Talk to the architect on his way back to the source. Ultimately, decide to take his prime program, assimilate that into the source, and reload the Matrix to a new version. Our narrator here says to reboot. So are those different? Are we gonna? Are they so similar that I'm gonna split hairs and say that they're different? I don't know, but I think that they have different meanings, particularly pertaining to what happens here at the end of Revolutions. I think that a reload is Neo inserting his prime program, which, in my opinion, has to be his conscious choice. And then the Matrix would reload to a new version. So in this case, it would be version 7. I don't particularly believe that happened, but it's clear that something happened. Okay, the Matrix went from a disaster to everything got fixed again. And she says rebooted. So was it just turned off, turned back on, and everything's, it's the same version, but everything is repaired? I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I almost lack the articulation to describe it.
Well, what I'm looking for, if I usually have it somewhere, there it is. In the architect's speech, what R word does he use? Reboot, reset. What word does he use?
Who's that?
The architect, when we find out that the system is reset in the first place.
Your function now is to return to the source, allowing a temporary dissemination of the code you carry. Hold on, I'm going off memory.
So you got pretty far for that to be off the top.
Yeah. I think that's where he would say it.
All right.
Let me Google that real quick.
Well, he says, after which you will be required to select from the matrix 23.
Okay, so maybe.
Right?
So
Failure
maybe
to comply with this. Yeah. So this is what I'm getting to, though.
So he doesn't actually say reload, reboot. Yeah. Restore. See, I was pushing restore for a while.
Right. And then he says, okay, there are two doors. The door to your right leads to the source and the salvation of Zion. And then the door to the left leads back to the matrix, to her, and the end of your species, which we know doesn't happen. So, yeah, he very, 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 very cautiously steps around using a word that we can use here.
But he kind of implies that the matrix still exists because Neo would get to pick or hand select people from the matrix to rebuild.
Right. Rebuild. This is what I mean. So we're rebuilding Zion in the real world, but from a technical computer terminology, I mean, is there a difference between the word reset and reboot? I mean, is it literally potato? You know, like, is it like, okay, when you rebuild Zion and the one quote returns to the source, is that the equivalent of a hard reset? You know, is this the power button reset? But a reboot is you going to the menu and selecting reset, and then it turns.
I feel like a
turns back on
reboot
by
is
itself.
yeah. I feel like a reboot is turning it off and turning back on again, and a reset is like going back to factory settings.
Right. That's kind of the difference that I'm trying to determine. Is this like a real thing? Am I making this up? Is this like computer terminology difference a real thing, or is this just our, difference interpreted here? I don't know.
Okay, so I've got a Google.
Yeah.
This is from wikidiff.com. As verbs, the difference between reload and reboot is that reload is to load something again, while reboot is in computing to cause a computer to execute its boot process, effectively resetting a computer and causing the operating system to reload, especially after a system or power failure. Well, that sounds about right. So reload. So, okay, so I'm just going to throw my own matrix spin on this. Okay, my own interpretation is that a reload would be Neo disseminating his prime program, and a reboot is him not disseminating his prime program.
Right, which would, align with what we saw, right?
Well, that's, my bias is showing. So I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people. It just for the audience here, do not think that the Matrix was reloaded to a 7th version at the end of Revolutions.
But the analyst in the new film talks about how this is his version.
Yeah. See,
well. So there's that language thing again.
Well, I would say that at some point between the end of Revolutions and the beginning of Resurrections, the whole Matrix changed.
You've got 60 real world years to play with, so we might have that, operating system swap or upgrade. We're going from
through
whatever
machine civil war, even who knows?
Yeah. So I just maintain that it did not reload in the last few minutes of Revolutions.
Right.
Fair. I do
Alright,
think interesting you have that tweet open right now on the screen where they say that with Smith's purpose completed, then the machines could destroy him.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I interpreted it as with Smith copying himself into Neo, now the machines have a direct connection to Smith. But they're spinning it on this idea that, well, Smith accomplished what he needed to do, so now we can get rid of him.
well, both can be true though, right?
Well, exactly. But they only mention the one in the in this new archive.
Now we've got like I want to say like 20 more seconds here. Let's see what, right? Because I feel like there's something else that we haven't covered yet. Oh, maybe that was it. Yeah, that's all she wrote. Yeah, so I guess the reboot reset conversation was the final bombshell on us in that Zion Archive historical file. But yeah, now I'm definitely on the hunt for chapter 3.
The historical file 13.
Right now, my question to you guys, and this is really the reason why I wanted to get to this, is that I wanted to ask what you guys think this means. Like, why today? Why this?
I feel like it could go probably more than two ways, but the two ways that I see it as is option one. This is Warner Brothers being Warner Brothers and sitting on promotional content that they didn't put out before Resurrections. Because I feel like this would have been a perfect little recap for people who hadn't watched the movie in 20 years. But then the other way is the fact that there's the rumor of a second Animatrix. And with us being a week out from
The anniversary.
the anniversary, could they be planning something for that? I don't know, because again, it's Warner Brothers and they haven't handled the promotions
Yeah,
that well.
and when it comes to advertising the other media forms, like the not films, the other one, anything not a Matrix movie, yeah, the drop off is huge.
Yeah, and something that does stand out to me a lot in this is that I'm going to be that person again, but there's this notable absence of Trinity through all of this. Like, you see some clips. I know, but let me finish. Let me finish. There's a point I'm trying to make, right? And I think with the significant role that she plays in the new film, it seems, I don't know, kind of odd to me that there's not a lot of, or any mention, unless that's meant to kind of connect back to the idea that even in Resurrections, nobody seemed to care about that character in Thomas's game except Tiffany. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know.
Well, it's funny because for me, I'm thinking, when you say that there's a lack of Trinity, I mean, that's like the whole, I guess, payoff for my Holy Trinity video, right? Is that lack of Trinity. But in fairness to, I guess, this piece or this video that came out today, I mean, I feel like that was kind of the energy of the original trilogy, is like people missing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I don't know. Is this...
But you know what I mean? Like that kind of like backs up Vesuvius's point about checking this source and the machine propaganda and who's telling this version of the story, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So real quick here, I did want to answer some questions before we send this before we wrap up this class. But let's start with this one. It says 10 out of 10. What did you rate the new Matrix? So V, why don't you go first?
I think the Rotten Tomatoes score is pretty close to accurate, and I agree with that. It's somewhere around the 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. What about you, Trinity?
From a personal enjoyment standpoint, 10 out of 10. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like this sits more around that 6.5, 7 kind of range. I'd have to agree.
Yeah, for me, grading this is really hard because to your point, I know that my taste or my opinions usually don't jive with the mainstream on a regular basis. So if I love something, it wouldn't surprise me that the mainstream doesn't love something. And I did rather enjoy the experience, but also you got to remember, we were riding that wave for like 2 straight years. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
We
like
got
this
all the
movie
highs.
pandered. Yeah, like I feel
We got
like
all
it
the
pandered to me in the best way.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like I totally got that. I picked up that energy, and I get it that that's not there for everybody, right? But to give a round number, if I'm, you know, I guess I'd be kind of following Alias's suit in that there's a really extreme high, but then if I'm going to just critique it as a film and compare it to just other films and how other films are produced, which is what I think a lot of people who like really feel some kind of way about not liking it, I don't feel like they're doing that. I feel like most times they're just holding it to the standard or the expectation that they individually had, but aren't really taking the time to compare it to like other actual films. And when you do that, there are things within it that I understand the mainstream won't appreciate, that especially after the special features, which I did the video top 10 takeaways. Once I had a better understanding of how things were produced, like those little questions that I had, like the Jessica Henwick talking about the camera rigs and knowing those little details. I think what happened, or one of the things that happened that I appreciate after finding out how the movie was made, because I saw it, but I didn't understand what I was seeing, and now I know, and that's that whole thing Tiger Chin was saying about less prep, longer takes, more organic, and I don't know how much of that was because of the pandemic and how much of that was by design, but when I factor in the pandemic, because again, some of you guys know, I have theater background. So during the pandemic, a theater company in Philadelphia did kind of like an opposite thing because they couldn't have anybody in the seats in the theater. They shot video of a theatrical performance, but it wasn't taken in takes. It was, shot all the way through live the way a stage performance would be. And that's the thing. I feel like the Matrix Resurrections did like the reverse film version of that. And like I said, I don't know how much of that was just due to the circumstances of the pandemic and how much of that was just Lana's design, but taking that kind of risk artistically with her friends, with all these people who are like the best at what they do, it just felt like a jazz session. And I know like a lot of people will say they like jazz or they respect jazz, like kind of this hipster thing. But then you ask them like, well, can you name a jazz album not Miles Davis related? And they're like, huh? I definitely felt that energy. Like what makes jazz special, at least to me, is that you've got all these like really good musicians who are so good, so talented at their individual instrument that when they come together, they can just freestyle. They don't need sheet music. They can just play and go in all these places. And I felt like that's what these takes were doing. And, for that, I got to give it like at least an 8, because that, as a creator, I gotta respect somebody who can step outside of the box and do something that no one else is doing. Now, I get why. That's what I'm saying. It's almost like this, like sometimes I notice this in like sometimes like in theater spaces, because that crowd is so specific, like there will be sometimes like in more modern plays, there'll be like stuff written in there that you only get if you're like a theater person, you know. So I feel like that there's probably like Hollywood stuff in there that I didn't get because I'm not really a Hollywood person. And in fact, like people have told me that in comments and stuff like that. So I know that there's still things in this piece that I haven't picked up on. So I'm hoping to be able to find all those answers over time. But yeah, to give you a round number, I'm gonna go 8 overall. And I know it took me a while to get there, but there's just we haven't talked about this stuff in a while, so there's some things that I haven't said that I've been wanting to say. Jonathan Moore says Animatrix is the kind of anime that leaves you craving for more. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and now that we're in the streamer space, like it just seems like all the conditions are right. Like it's definitely time for more. You know, as Trinity mentioned here, you know, we have talked about the quote Animatrix 2.0 rumors or Animatrix Origins. And that's what I was hoping. I'm hoping that what we saw today was a setup, or you know, getting us primed and prepped for them to officially announce a date for that. You know, this is definitely obviously in some Animatrix energy. So he said not even the comics delivered such cool stories. Now, right, I saw this before, and you got to remember, B166ER. So that's part of the second Renaissance. So right, the second Renaissance was inspired by that. So some of the comics, or at least that comic, inspired an Animatrix episode. And then you have the kid story, right? So I think Animatrix episode came first and then the comic, but I could be wrong about that one. But I think V, would you know? Was the kids comic was that one that came out once we were already playing Matrix Online? V, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Do you remember if the kids comic was one that came out after we were already playing Matrix Online? Was it one of the later ones?
Are you talking about the one I Can't?
I can't. Yeah, that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one came out, I think 2005 or 2004.
Right.
I do not have it handy.
But no, I think you're right. I mean, at least to the point that I was making, that Animatrix comic, sorry, that Animatrix episode came out before the comic. So
Yes.
All right, that's you. Shout out to 69.5. Marcus says, I think the one was intentionally created by the Oracle when she gave Neo a cookie.
Maybe.
Yeah, I still got some candy questions. Jonathan says, what I understand is that the real world had rules like the one, rules created by the universe, and the machines had to simulate that for the Matrix to work. Joker says, as one realizes one is a dream figure in another person's dream, that is self-awareness. Joker also said, if you saw Boba Fett, they copied the blue and red pill scene with lightsaber and Mando choice. Oh, he's talking about Grogu. Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't surprised by his choice. I don't want to spoil it for anybody though. Joker also says, I always thought since Smith became a virus, Source Machine injected antivirus software into Neo.
See, I always thought that Neo was the antivirus. And by Smith assimilating him, he basically installed antivirus in his network. And they and the equation balanced. But I guess Deus Ex Machina just, select all and delete.
Yeah, you know much more about the technical terms than I do. Marcus said, I think the code of the one spread to Smith in Trinity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
The
you
rave
have that
scene.
picture?
The rave scene.
Well, that's a lot more direct.
That was a direct transfer.
You guys are gross.
Jesus. I was gonna say, I was gonna point to the picture that you have of what is it with Neo touching her
Neo
heart.
Morpheus. Oh yeah. Yeah, when she got shot by, was it Agent Johnson?
I don't think that was Johnson. I think that was a
Jackson?
right? I think it was Jackson.
Yeah.
But yeah,
yeah.
that's a code transfer similar to your Morpheus Smith virus one.
Yeah, and when Neo jumped inside of Smith at the end of part 1, that was an unintentional trading of code.
Yeah, well, he says it in Reloaded, right? A part of you
Yeah.
imprinted onto me.
So when he reached for the bullet inside Trinity, something similar very possibly could have happened.
Yeah. No, I like that. John says, I was happy to see you enjoyed my Dozer meme video the other day. Yeah. That was funny. Yeah, you guys could always send me funny Matrix stuff. I always get a kick out of that. 6ix9ine says, I don't think WB is releasing content with no purpose. There is something behind it. Yeah, that's why I wanted to go live tonight, because we needed something, and even if it was just that, like nothing new, but they gave us a remix of something old just to feed us a little bit, give us some scraps. I'll take that over nothing. I appreciate the effort.
Oh yeah, this was a lot of fun. What was this? 7 minutes? My goodness. Right. It was rich. It was rich.
Right? Didn't it seem like it was longer than that? Like when you got to that 7th minute, you're like, wait, how long have I been watching this?
Yeah.
It had everything, and then I was like, oh, we're down to like a minute left. Are they gonna hit on resurrections? And they just kind of left it. So it was like, okay, well, 14-3. Are we gonna get more?
Yeah, that's it. I'm still looking for 13. I feel I can smell it. There's something in 13 that I want to know. Yeah, Oddone says the Animatrix 2.0 would be sweet. Like I said, I don't know if it's 2.0 Origins, both, none. We're not getting.
Well, they wrote 2.0. The what's his face? I forget his name.
John
on
Gaeta?
his link. Yeah, on his LinkedIn, right?
Right. 2.0 was on his LinkedIn, but Origins is what's on IMDb.
Oh, okay.
So when I was watching the video and I saw some Animatrix, I was like, oh, is this it? Like, are we doing this? Is this going to be another Animatrix? But it seems like it was a bit of implication and tease, and I'm going to keep my hopes up for a little while longer, a few more years.
So, okay, John says, I've seen Resurrections 5 or 6 times, and I still don't really get how Smith fits into the plot. Exile fight was pointless. Okay, so I'm up to 9. I haven't seen it double-digit times yet, but I'll get there eventually. What's interesting is I actually felt this energy before I saw it. But if you watch the reactions to the special features, my number one takeaway was me kind of wrapping my head around why the Exile fight wasn't pointless and how Smith fits into the plot fully. Took a while for me to put that together, so don't feel bad. I definitely don't think it's there for you to figure out the first time around, although some people might, whatever. But yeah, for me, it was but an important part of all of that is Groff's version of Smith. It's like new code. It's Smith, but it's a new Smith, and I think this new Smith is influenced by the new Smorpheus because of the way that Neo created Smorpheus, or modal Morpheus. And so the Exile fight for me is now, I see it in this, or through this lens of showing us how Smith is now like this team player, or not so much a team player, but he's not the
Willing
lone.
to get help. Yeah.
Yes, he's not the lone wolf that he was before. You know, like the whole earpiece, taking out the earpiece thing, and they're like, oh, he doesn't know. You know, he unplugged himself from communication, weirdo. The old Smith, the Hugo Weaving Smith, was, you know, kind of this loner even when he was with the other agents. And we just talked about, you know, if we trust this source, you know, part of what made him different is that he had a slightly different purpose in his programming. Excuse me. So with the new Smith, the analyst explains that this was part of imprisoning Neo psychologically by having his enemy be his partner, right? Like that he's kind of trapped and stuck with him in this grind. And also there's the part of their relationship that balances each other out within the Matrix. I mean, that's part of, even this Zion Archive talked about them balancing each other out, right? So yeah, I just think that there is something that ties the new Smith to the new Morpheus that you can get there without the exile scene, but the exile scene is an excuse to bring back Tiger Chen and Lambert Wilson and give us that. So I think Lana went with the latter. Did you guys have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, not to that.
Yeah, me neither. I just always felt like it was important. Regardless, I still enjoyed it, even though it kind of felt like it was just thrown in. But
yeah,
it definitely has its purpose.
Like when I did the spoiler video before I saw the movie, I was like, "Oh, that's random as F." You know what I mean? Like I was like, "What is going on?" And then when I saw it, it seemed less out of place than I anticipated, but it was still like I still felt like something was missing. But I don't feel like something's missing anymore. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend that you watch the deleted scene special features video. Jonathan says Resurrections was made intentionally to discourage fans and neologists to stop research about the Matrix secrets. Look what happened to Matrix. You guys are funny. I don't know what happened with Matrix Explained channel. I mean, I was offline for a while too. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know that the news with the lawsuit was a little jarring for me. On top of everything else, real world schedules and not knowing what was coming next or when anything's coming next. And since I mentioned it, I believe the next court date is May 17th. So hopefully we'll get some news or a settlement by then, because that would be great for everybody, right? Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe they'll see that there was some news today since we're doing this live stream. So maybe they'll comment or put something together for that. We'll see. But yeah, I've definitely seen videos like, oh, Lana wanted it to tank on purpose and all this stuff. I don't really buy that. I don't believe, I don't believe Warner Brothers is like using the Matrix as the producers in real life. Like I'm just not going to sign up for that. Now I do believe that they've got reasons to downplay how much money they actually made, but I don't think that anybody wanted it to flop. I don't think that was by design.
Yeah, I don't see them taking Resurrections to like make an example by using it.
As far as the ranking, right, John says, personally 9 out of 10. Always happy to see the Matrix. Took day off to work to see it. Real film criticism, 5 or 6 out of 10. The odd one says, fun fact, despite being shot in Berlin, we have to wait the longest for the Blu-ray release 30th of June. That's crazy.
Jeez. I got my steelbook like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, and in fairness, like when Cyberpunk Matrix and I were talking about it, that was like the Twitter Space beta. And right, we had a Twitter Space the other day. I finally got it from Twitter, so I'm gonna edit it, and hopefully that'll be up soon, maybe after the weekend, because like I said, it's gonna be a long work weekend. But Right. When I was talking to Cyberpunk Matrix that first time, so I guess that was like the 5th we spoke, and then I posted that on the 7th, and then like the next day it came out in the States. So that's March. So it's like what, 3 months ish since the original release. Now, when we were talking about it in the Twitter space, I was like, yeah, back in the day, like 6 months was safe. So that puts Berlin like in the 6 month, or Germany in the 6 month window. But yeah, like for us to get it half that time, that's a weird rollout. I wonder what the reasoning behind that is. He says I got an extra copy by accident. Can I send it to you? I'm actually good. But thank you. Yeah, I got the red blue pill cover because it had the Deja Vu cat poster and 3D poster cards. I'm a sucker for comic card, trading card kind of things. It's probably why I have an NFT avatar, because it's like a digital comic book card in my mind. Joker says the other Wachowski sister needs to come back to work and stop procrastinating. Well, I believe, or I mean, I have no idea what Lily's reasons were, other than, you know, she was working on other projects at the time. I do believe that there were other reasons, though. So, you know, I get that sometimes people creatively, if you know that you're not going to be, you know, 100% in something, you know, sometimes you just got to sit one out. John Warhol says, OT, watch over and over, gets better every time. M4's plot holes and writing get more clunky each watch for me. He said, I thought the agents got V. 6ix9ine, he said Icon was copywritten in 2004. So right, so either way, it was created after the Animatrix was released, for sure. Joker says Neo downloaded his software into Trinity. And Kavion Davis says, I just saw Zion Archive 14-2 on YouTube. Yeah, that is what we were discussing. Shout out to you for jumping in, and your continual support across multiple platforms. Always appreciated. Right, and I forgot to say, because it's been so long, guys, make sure you like the stream. We always want to do our best to reach as many neologists and yellow-pilled Matrix University students that we can. So when you like the stream, it helps signal boost and let people who are already here know, and new people who've never been here know what's going on, and that we're live and talking Matrix, breaking things down. I am really glad that we got back up in the lecture hall, because I missed you guys. It's been a while. But to that point, you know, Warner threw us a bone today. Like I said, we got some scraps today. I'm hoping that, like, to Trinity's point, with the anniversary coming up, that this is just the beginning of some more. Oh, right. That was the other thing. So I believe NFT LA is next week, or over the next 2 weeks, something like that. You know, I'm an East Coast guy, so I don't know the specifics of what's going on over there. But there is an NFT like conference thing going on, real world event, and apparently whoever's one of the Warner Brothers representatives responsible with working on the Matrix NFT project is going to be dropping some news at that. So I don't know what it is. I don't want to hype it up, because I have no idea what they're going to be announcing. But in theory, they're going to be announcing something that we haven't heard yet. So I will keep you guys informed and let everybody know what that's about, assuming we get some new information. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's next week or in 2 weeks, but it'll be one of those two, either next week or the week after that. Real quick here, John says, my favorite M4 meta moment is picture hanging on noodle restaurant wall behind Thomas is a real pic of Keanu in that real restaurant.
It is.
Well, it's funny too, because, you know, I mean, I hear I hear, people say that they felt like it was too meta, but that's why, like, I'm really glad that I got to watch the film in the theaters, because at least in the theater I was in, it's also the day it came out. But
Yeah.
in the theater I was in, people, like I said, all the people in the theater seemed to enjoy all the meta references that they caught. So it worked for that crowd anyway. So my favorite M4 meta moment, I've said I said it in that special features reaction video, is Chad playing himself. Well,
Yep.
not playing himself, but
A
playing a
Chad
different
playing a
Chad, right?
character named Chad.
There you
That
go.
is a definition of a Chad.
Right, there you go.
Yep.
While he was also playing the fake husband for Trinity, but used to be Neo's stunt double.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, he's also the director of John Wick, so he's going to direct Neo in a movie where Keanu Reeves is not playing Neo.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably find more.
Oh, there's probably way more, but
right.
then we'd be here for another 4 hours.
Yeah, man, and I hope that this was a teaser for. I hope it was low key a teaser for Animatrix 2.0. And like I said, I've got my theories on the reasons why we might not be getting date announcements right now. Nothing is proven, so I'm trying to be patient. I'm trying not to put out bad information or information that isn't going to check out later on. So that's why I'm just trying to be patient and see what we're dealing with when the information comes down the pipeline. Yeah. So hold on. He says make a long form video about all the meta moments. I don't know, like I feel like if I did that, it would be the running time of the Matrix Resurrections. Like,
That seems more of like maybe a spaces thing, so it can be a little more fluid.
So people can jump in.
Yeah.
Right. Well, all right, we hit the hour mark. I don't know if I have anything else. I think I hit you guys with all the like I said, the concrete news, the reportable news. I'm trying to get some dates for you guys in terms of releases. The Matrix Awakens seems to be real cold of a conversation right now. And like I said, I've got my theories on why these conversations are cold for right now. But the signs point to us possibly finding out something over the next few weeks. So I'm just going to hold out hope and, of course, keep you guys updated. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say to the class before we dismiss?
I got nothing. I'm just happy to be back.
Likewise. Happy to have you guys back. Oh, man. All right. Well, on that note, please like the stream on your way out. As always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when we are live and when the next video comes out. And if you have already watched Beyond the Glitch, never hurts to watch it again. You might pick up on something that you didn't catch the first or second or third time or whatever time you're up to. And class is dismissed.